Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the second video in a series of community chats. I truthfully haven't figured out what I'm calling this series yet. Obviously, I'll figure that out by the time these videos go up. In the last video, the first one, I gave a little bit more background to the series and what this series entails and where the idea came from, etc. I'm not gonna repeat myself in this video. If you want a little bit more background, you can jump to that one. I also wish I had said in the last one, I think even if you don't feel like you specifically fall into one of these categories, I think it's really beneficial to watch them all because there are lots of great tips, even if that specific situation in your life doesn't totally apply to you. But we are gonna move into the work outside of the home. Now, these were obviously the most difficult to schedule, especially given my time constraints with childcare and their time constraints with working, but we absolutely made it happen. There were four amazing conversations that I had with two teachers, a school secretary, and someone in operations support. Very different schedules, things that look different, and I just think that they're so helpful. Some of the goals that we reference in these chats are running a marathon, getting a PhD. These people, y'all, some of these people, I'm like, wow, you literally go to work 40 hours a week, and these things, it's amazing. Sewing and crafting, reading, and having a side business. Some of the tips that they talk about are having an accountability buddy, having to prioritize, keeping goals front of mind, intentionality. These chats are also, God, there's so many tips. Writing stuff down and focusing on the positive. Let's get into it.
All right. Hello, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to chat. Let's jump in. Let's just start with a little bit of background. Can you describe your current stage of life, your working setup, what part of the country you're in, anything else that you feel like would be helpful information as we start to talk about your goals?
Okay, so I am Sarah, like you said, and I am a teacher. This is my 16th year teaching.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
High school math right now. I have taught elementary for quite a while. In the last few years, I have been teaching in the high school. I live in northern Minnesota in a pretty small town, only 1,000 people in the town.
Oh my gosh.
And I am married and I have 3 kids. So I have a 6th grader, a 4th grader, and a kindergartner.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's so cool. Let's start by talking about the positive. So what is one goal that you have achieved in the past that you are super proud of?
Yes, so I actually trained for and completed a marathon in October.
That's huge.
I think I counted, it was my 14th marathon that I have done. But it had been a year and a half since I had run one. So getting myself reset to run the full marathon again was something I was pretty proud of this fall.
14 marathons.
Yeah.
That's the part I'm stuck on. I was impressed when you said marathon because like that is something I really don't think is ever in my future. And especially after having kids. And so I can't even imagine after having 3. And then when you said you've done 14, have you always been a runner or is that like a later in life goal?
That was something I got into right when I was done with college. So I had been active. I was a gymnast. I was on our track team, but I was a pole vaulter, a sprinter, and had lots of friends that ran cross country and set that as a goal for myself my senior year of college. I want to run a marathon. Spoiler alert, you should do something in between, like a 5K and a marathon. I wouldn't recommend. I worked my way backwards, but I found that distance running is something I really enjoy and have kept doing that. So
that's amazing. I mean, when you're 22, you probably could get away with just going from
you can. I can't get away with that anymore. So you got to be a little more thoughtful with the training on those things. So
right. So that's incredible. So this is a goal I assume you plan to continue to have.
Yes. Oh yeah. My big goal is I would love to run the Boston Marathon someday. That's been a dream of mine for a long time. And the time standard is pretty fast. So I am in my mid 30s. I'm 37 and I need to run a qualifying race in 3 hours and 35 minutes or faster. And my fastest marathon is 3:58 and my slowest is probably 5 hours and 40 minutes. So I've run anywhere between, kind of depending on what season of life I'm in and what else is going on when I have had my babies and things like that. But that is something I still want to keep working towards. So this was more of a point where I had lost a little bit of the joy of running and was trying to find that back again, and having a race, like a big event to finish your training, I have found keeps me motivated. And so this was more of, I want to complete the training and run a successful race and feel good. And I did that. And so then that kind of, perks you up again a little bit. And then you can train a little bit different if you're looking for a time goal, or I have trained a little differently on those times. So,
right. My mom and I were actually just talking about the fact that the Boston Marathon is like the most prestigious one in in our country. And I was curious how you like qualify for it. I know a lot about the New York Marathon and how difficult it is to qualify. I don't even know what their time requirements are, but just like actually being allowed to run is really tough.
I think it's harder to get into the New York Marathon and the Chicago Marathon even, I think, are harder. Like some of those, it's like a drawing. So like maybe you can just be randomly selected. But if you go by the time standards, those are faster time standards, I think, than the Boston Marathon has. But the Boston Marathon, you can't be like randomly selected. So you have to hit the time standard or meet the charity requirements to, run for something like that.
Right. That's amazing. So this is just a question for fun. What's like the coolest one you've done so far?
I did a race in Disney one time, the Disney Princess Half Marathon, and that was probably the coolest race experience I have ever done. You don't go to Disney to run a PR time, you go for an experience, because you stop and wait in line for 20 minutes to get your picture taken and all of those things. But they put on a very well-run event. It was great.
That's probably the only way you could ever get me to run an actual race at this point is through a Disney park. But who knows if that's ever in my future. All right. Back to goals, even though I could probably ask you questions about this all day long, because I just think it's so interesting. You kind of touched on this a little bit by like scheduling a marathon that you were excited about, but is there anything else that you have figured out that works for you related? It can be related to this goal, can be related to any goal, especially given that you are a full-time teacher outside of the house and you have 3 kids.
Yeah. So I think especially with this one, like I found a buddy. So the long runs are hard. And I just knew like that is like the thing I have to prioritize on the weekend is getting the long run in. And then I found a friend who was willing to bike with me every week when I did my long run. And that's like a big time commitment because
it's hours.
The pace I was running, like it's 4 hours for my 20-mile run to get ready. And so then I know like I have someone that's going to be there with me, and it makes it a little bit more fun. You look forward to that time together. And then also just scheduling, like communicating with my husband. When I am signing up, like I am signing up for this. This is when it is. Like that means I am going to be doing this long run every weekend, and other things got missed also because this was the priority for this time period. It is a set time frame for this goal, and then the race happens and I don't need to spend 4 hours every weekend running. So having to be willing and knowing what are the absolute things that have to get done and what can drop off, like the plates, spinning glass and plastic, plates, kind of thinking what are the things that are the priorities and what can I let go right now so that I can do this. Is kind of what worked for this race.
Yeah, I love that analogy, the glass plates versus the plastic plates and what can drop for now. And I'm sure there's things that you had to cut and decide this is not a priority. And then there's also, I have to imagine, I can never run more than a 5K. The other aspects of training besides just the running, right? Like taking care of your body, getting the right amount of sleep, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah. Right. And so making sure there's time for sleep and like food, making sure I have enough snacks or food I'm eating during the day and fueling enough, like especially right before the race and, on those other days too.
Yeah. During the week, I understand like on the weekends, your long runs are probably the most time commitment, but you also have support from your husband. During the week, what are you in the morning before everything starts? Are you evening?
Yeah. So my best time I would like to run is early in the morning. My treadmill is kind of a problem right now. And usually this time of year, it is easier to still run outside. I actually coached cross country for the first time this fall.
That's
so
fun.
Yes, it was great. And I was struggling to find like my joy in running. It's something I've enjoyed for a long time. And the position came open and I was like, maybe this would be another way to, be encouraged and inspired and motivated. And it was, and I knew the group of kids and they're great kids that are super fun to be around and super fun to watch them race too, and like share my experiences and get experiences from them too. So some of my running I was able to do at practice with them, or I would do my running right after, when I was already dressed or ready, or some of those things too. So that I think helped. It's felt like another time commitment, but I think it also helped, like, because they worked together.
Yeah, right. It's almost, I hate the phrase killing two birds with one stone. I feel like we need a different phrase to accomplish that same concept, but yeah, that makes sense. I also don't know why I wasn't even thinking about the weather being an impact and where you're located. And I'm sure we're kind of inching closer to like outside is not really going to be an option.
Yeah. Yes. We're getting closer to that. The races that I have done. So I've run Grandma's Marathon in Duluth, which is in June, and that one works out pretty well. Okay. Also, the February, March, when you're training, is cold, but usually then you can get outside. And then this one was in early October. So it was still,
that's probably kind of perfect.
Outside. Yeah.
And then kind of the flip side of that, is there anything that you figured out that doesn't work for you? Any tips or habits or mindsets that you're like, I can't do that?
Yeah, I think, like, I feel like running turns into a goal when I set a race or I've got a time goal. But it is also a hobby. I mean, and I have a few other hobbies that also end up becoming goals. Like, I like to scrapbook, I like to quilt, and I, set goals like I want to finish this book or yearly album by a certain time, or I have this many projects and I want to get them done. And I feel like I break them down into pieces. I have a tracker where I track my pages on some of those things, but I have also found I can only have one of those things at a time. So like when I was running this fall a lot, I was not doing any of those other things. Like, I wasn't scrapbooking or doing any of those other pieces. And if I am really focused on that, I'm not running as much, or I'm not doing some of those other things. Maybe does that kind of answer? But like having multiple things going is not something that I can manage, or I found, with time or the other busy commitments, mom life and managing my house and my job, like having one thing to focus on is really, the big thing.
No, that totally makes sense, especially because it's a big time commitment. Like you said, this is not like sometimes scrapbooking or those kinds of types of hobbies, you can set aside 5-10 minutes and you can still make some progress. You're not going to make a whole lot of progress in like a 10-minute run. That's not going to do a whole lot.
No. And I have also found, like, when I'm running a lot like that, even having those 5 or 10 minutes for some of those other things, it doesn't seem to be there. Yeah.
Well, again, going back, you also full-time job outside of the home, 3 kids, and all the other things that we all know goes with running a household, and all those things. Yeah. Awesome. I don't have any other set questions. If there's any other goal things that you've learned or tips or things that you find really helpful that you would want to share.
I know you say this saying a lot. I have watched your channel for a number of years, and I was I'm not part of your community right now, but I have been in the past. And your progress over perfection, like, really sticks with me. And I think especially in the busier seasons, like when I was single and younger and, it was just me to manage, I focused a lot more on perfection, I think. And as I have gotten into the busier seasons where I'm managing all of the things, making progress, or something is better than nothing. And like, sometimes even with the running, like a 10-minute run is better than no run at all. And sometimes if I'm struggling, it's like, I can go run 1 mile. I can, or I'm going to go for 10 minutes and just see how I feel. And then sometimes you can keep going, or sometimes you're done with that, or doing little bits of things, like just starting it or opening it, like that still is progress. And I have gotten better at like seeing those and having that help me, feel good, like you are still making progress on things. So
that's a great reminder, especially like you said, as you're going back to the plate analogy, as they start to add up and you have more, especially you have more glass ones that can't fall, then it's like, if my options are nothing or a little bit or nothing or something imperfect, like let's go with the imperfect. Let's go with the something. And it's hard. It's not easy always to get yourself to make that decision, to do the 1 mile or to just do a little bit of something. But yeah, it adds up.
And I think not waiting for the perfect time to start. Also, like, I wasn't sure I wanted to run this race. And normally I would have like a 16 or 18 week training cycle. And I just wasn't sure. And finally, like I bet I did an 8 to 10 week training cycle, like much shorter, but I had been running and I was like, nope, I think I want to go for this. And I'm not going to wait to say, no, I don't have 18 weeks. I can't run this race. Like, I'm going to adjust my goal to be realistic and safe. Like I wasn't pushing my times. I was like, what is a comfortable pace where I'm not going to hurt my body. What do I have to get done? I have to hit all of the long runs. And, I knew I could hit the 12. Okay. I've got enough weeks that I could build this up, and not waiting for the perfect training cycle. Like, don't wait. It's never going to be perfect. And I would have missed what turned out to be something really good if I said, oh, I don't have 18 weeks to train for this. Like, it can still be done. If this was my first marathon, I wouldn't have said that, but I had enough background experience where I can say, I'm going to work with what I have, and I still can go for this.
Right. By 14.
Make it work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially like you said, but you still adjusted. You didn't go for a PR. You were like, I'm going to go for a pace that's reasonable for the fact that I'm shortening my training schedule.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is amazing. Because I feel like, again, that's a mental game that is easy for us to struggle with and be like, well, I don't have this, so I'm just not going to do it. It's like,
right. I'm going to wait till all the things are perfect. I have the right training cycle, and the race is right, and it's the right weather, and all the things are in line, because that's never going to happen. It never works.
Yeah. Never. Okay. I have one more question. Have you signed up for another race yet, or are you kind of just waiting to decide?
I am not currently signed up for anything. When I have done my racing quite a bit, I have particular races that I often like to run every year. So I kind of think on those. I've run Grandma's Marathon in Duluth a number of times. I have noticed over the last 10 years that race has gotten huge. Like, it's just much bigger than it was when I started, and it is less enjoyable with that. I've done the Twin Cities Marathon also, which also is a huge race. So this one I did was in Bemidji. It was much smaller, and I really enjoyed that experience. So I know I will run this same race again next fall. I have one in Fargo I like to run with a friend in May, so I will probably do something there, and like specific things that I sign up with during that. No, that's a lie. I am signed up for a race. I'm running around a 10K over Thanksgiving. So,
oh my God, that's like in a week.
Well, it's a couple of weeks, but yes, that's only 6 miles. So that is more manageable.
Yeah. That's true.
It's fine.
You're like, it's only 6 miles. And I'm over here like, okay, 6 miles. Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good luck.
But yes, I know, like, finding an event to sign up really helps me to do that. And so having those kind of races that I run every year and are just kind of scheduled throughout keeps me going.
Motivated. Yeah.
I have found. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for being here. This was, I think, so many great insights, especially for somebody who has so much going on. So this was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for meeting me and hanging out today. I'm excited to chat. Let's start with, can you describe your current just like stage of life? In terms of where you're working, not like where you work, but you know what I mean? Like in the home, out of the home, full-time, part-time, like what all of that looks like, anything that you think would be helpful as we start to talk about goals.
Yeah. So I currently work 2 full-time jobs.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a teacher. I work with students in kinder through 5th grade. And then my second full-time job is I guess the best way to put it is an academic coach. I'm a program mentor at a college for college students. I'm also a mom of 4. One being it's my 4 kids are like older, so it's fine. But my youngest is a sports kid. And so that is like my 3rd full-time job, I guess, being a sports mom, going to all the practices. And then I'm also a full-time student getting my doctorate in education right now. So yeah, super not busy at all.
Oh my God. That's not even like I work full-time outside of the house. It's like I literally have no hours in anything ever. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a pretty busy, like, action-packed life. So it's not bad though. Like, I only feel like I'm gonna die like every once in a while.
And what are the age ranges of your kids, if you don't mind sharing?
No, my youngest is 12, and then I have my oldest is 19, and then I have a 15 and a 16-year-old. They're in high school doing their thing. Yeah.
I mean, yes, their older kids in theory need less, but I've heard emotionally they end up needing more when they're that age. Obviously, I'm not anywhere near that yet. And B, that age between like I've started activities, but I can't drive myself is actually probably, if you ask my dad and stepmom, like the literal worst, because they need to go to all the places all the time and they cannot take themselves.
Yes. My youngest he has practice 4 days a week, and his practices are 2 hours each practice. So yeah, it again, third full-time job is just sitting at a field watching my son practice soccer. So it's great.
That is amazing.
I know I'll miss it at some point.
For sure. But and I say that about every phase, right? Every stage, you're like, there's going to be aspects of it that you absolutely miss. And then there's aspects of it that you're like, I cannot wait for this to be not my everyday.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. So just from a like, I'm like, can't even wrap my head around like the logistics of your life.
It's pretty hectic.
Let's just jump into talking about goals. And I'm sure some of the actual logistics will come out. If you can't tell, I'm like almost speechless because I literally feel like I can't even wrap my head around my own life sometimes and like the amount of things you have going on. I guess one question I do have is how much longer do you have in school in the program that you're doing?
I'm hoping it's flexible. So I'm hoping to be done in like the next year.
Okay.
That's my goal for myself. I have until 2032 to finish if like that's the longest I could be in school.
Okay.
Which is an interesting like thought process, but neither here nor there.
That's tough.
My goal is like, a year.
Yeah. That's a really long ways away and you don't necessarily want to drag things out like forever.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
And then once you're done, do you like, is that going to impact, like, are we going to combine and not have 2 full-time jobs and have 1 full-time job?
That would be my goal.
Okay.
But I don't like right now, I don't really know where I want to go with it at this juncture. Like, do I want to stay in K-12 education? Do I want to go to higher ed? That's kind of why I'm doing 2 jobs right now, is to see where I want to go with it. And I really like both for totally different reasons. But ultimately, I would love to just have 1 full-time job with, none of the headache of another full-time job.
Yeah. But now I mean, I do understand like doing both gives you that opportunity to like actually side by side compare. And I'm sure they both have their pros and cons and deciding, but which one feels like the better fit, which one, makes more sense for you and your family and all those things.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that like when I'm thinking about, life and how everything is playing out, like I think right now is the only time in my life where 2 jobs would make sense.
Right.
So I see myself really kind of wanting to combine them, but I know that that's not a feasible like want long term. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Let's jump into goals. I would love to hear about a goal. It can be recent, it could be past you, but some goal that you have achieved that you are super proud of.
I feel like I've had a lot of goals that I've been super proud of. So I'll go with the most. Okay. I'll go with the most recent.
Okay.
My most recent goal was to finish like the first 12 weeks of classes for the doctorate program. And that just ended in September. Okay. And so I felt really good about that. But I feel like every stage, like, having kids, I had like that kind of a goal. And then like buying my first house, even though I'm like, I kind of wish I would have waited now, but that's neither here nor there. Big money suck. I would rather rent at this point, but
but do you have some killer rate that like is
I do.
The rest of us would envy to no end?
I don't know if people would envy it, but yeah, I definitely like we bought 6 months before the rates were at the lowest, so we were able to refinance right when they were at the lowest. So it definitely helped and made it worth it a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking about like our rate and it's so depressing, and I feel like they're not going. They keep promising that they're gonna like drop and we can refinance. And I'm like, okay, it's been like almost a year. Where's my drop?
Yes, my sister bought a house at the low rate and then just bought a new house, and she's like, I don't even know what I want to do. Like, I don't even want this house anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. That sucks. Yeah.
Okay. So my next question, and it could be related to specifically this goal or it just in general related to your goals, especially given everything you have on your plate or plates. What have you figured out that works for you related to goals, habits, mindsets, tools, etc.?
Yeah, I'm a huge procrastinator, and one of the struggles that I've always had is like and I'm sure you can tell, take on a whole lot. And I'm a very like, I think about it. And if I think too long, I'll talk myself out of it kind of a person. And so one of the habits is like just making sure that I have my school up on one of my tabs, one of my browsers, one of my tabs. And that way, when I'm clicking through, I see it and it's like at the top of mind. But then having an accountability partner, like I have quite a few right now. I need people that aren't in my family that I can't talk out of things. Cause my husband, like, I ask him, like, hey, will you keep me accountable to this? And then he says it, and I'm like, oh, I just don't feel like it. And he's like, okay, that's fine. Like, you have a lot going on. So finding those people that are going to hold me accountable has been like the easiest and the hardest thing I've done, but the best thing I've done. Like when it comes to work, when it comes to, school, when it comes to family, making sure that I'm keeping everything kind of in that like space of, oh, you know what you're doing and you're not overwhelmed with it.
Yeah. Are these accountability partners like people working on the same goals as you, or just like the right people to keep you accountable?
They are just basically the right people to keep me accountable. My college job, that's where like most of them come from. And so they're in that education and adult education mindset. And so like most of my accountability comes like work-life balance and then making sure I get my schoolwork done. And so because they do that, like that's just kind of in their wheelhouse. That's part of what we do with our students in the college. And so it makes it much easier.
Yeah, for them to just help you apply it. Although I'm still not sure how you have work-life balance. Like I can't even fathom there's enough hours in the day for that. But if you say so.
It's definitely fun balancing that. So
I think it also may be the reminder that everybody needs, myself included. Balance doesn't have to mean 50-50. Balance is unlikely ever going to be 50-50. You can still be in quote unquote balance as long as it's on 100-0, right? That's right. Like if you think about like a teeter totter, right? It's rarely at 50-50, but as soon as it goes to like 100-0, then it's really tough to like get out of. So as long as I'm assuming yours is not anywhere near 50-50, but it's like, some other big number, but it's not 100-0.
Right. Yeah. No, it's probably like 70-30, okay. 70 work, 30 life.
Awesome. All right. And then on the flip side of this, is there anything that you've discovered goal-wise that doesn't work for you? And maybe it's stuff that you've seen work for other people and you've tried and you're like, that is not for me.
Yeah. So it's really funny because planners do not work for me, which is so funny because like back in the day, like back in the We Love EC day, that's kind of like, I was like, this is going to help me. Like at the time I was still a mom, but I was working like one job. I was like the PTA president at my kid's school. And so I was like, let me just organize my life that way. That doesn't work. So one of the things that does work is like literally just setting timers for myself, but I really can't plan out. Like I know what I need to do. And it's just kind of like a running to-do list for myself with timers for the things that like have times for that day. It is very much so like we are on a day-by-day basis, which is really terrible when like I teach and but it works. Like I can plan some things like as far as a lesson goes, I can plan that out for the whole week, but it's not like for my personal self, I like looking at times doesn't mean anything to me. Like times are just not for me.
Yeah, they're just arbitrary. But like you said, you have to figure out what works for you and also the season that you're in, right? Like when you had one job and younger kids, it probably looked one way and maybe some things worked. And then now that again, your kids are older and they need different things and your job looks different, jobs look different. It's a different need. And that's okay. That right now what you need is a running to-do list, timers, and a day-by-day approach.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was really hard to kind of realize that that's how I work best because I I saw it work so well for so many people, and I
Yeah.
wanted it to work so well for me, and so badly that like there was that like I'm failing at it because I can't do it this specific way. And then when I started thriving doing it the way that I'm doing it now, it was like, okay, that's great. Like any super important stuff that like pops up, I have to put a timer or else not gonna remember. But like my son has practice at the same time every day. I go to work at the same time every day. I have, these things going on at the same time every day. And so those things, like, it's just become a habit, and
Yeah.
that's not as difficult to manage.
Yeah. I mean, when things are consistent that way, it does make things simpler, at least. It doesn't
Yes,
mean it's easy, but it's simple and you can follow the
definitely.
same, rhythm and routine that you were doing before.
Definitely.
It's tough, and that comparison game is hard, right? You see it work for other people and then you might try to make it work for you and it's not, and then that ultimately results in you feeling like you said like you failed when
Yeah,
it's not a failure. It's just that it doesn't work for you, and that's okay because all of our lives look different.
exactly. Yeah, definitely.
And when you say see people, I don't know if you mean people in your real life or like people on the internet, but the other thing I always have to remind myself of, I'm speaking this for everybody, what you see on the internet is only so much of somebody's life. And you
Yes.
have sometimes they share a lot. Sometimes they do. But sometimes people don't share things, not necessarily
Yeah.
intentionally, like maliciously, but like I recently found out that like a business owner I follow that I like greatly admire has a stay-at-home husband. And I was like, okay, well, that explains a lot why her three kids, like it's not as chaotic and overwhelming that she has these three kids because her husband she's a stay-at-home dad. So like, well, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's been a little bit of both. I think that, you know, uh, especially when you're a part of a group, like the planner groups that I have been a part of in the past, you do see those people, but then like also in education, like teachers use teacher planners all the time. Like there's a whole market of teacher planners
Yeah.
out there. And so I see them using it successfully, and I'm like, why isn't that working for me? Because I am not that kind of a person. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm not going to remember to flip the page to the next day, and then I forget for like 2 weeks, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that, like, let me flip to this page. Okay, now it's blank, and it didn't benefit me. So
Yeah.
it's been
That's
a little
fair.
bit of both.
Yeah. That makes sense. All right. Last question, kind of on those same lines. Being a member of the planner community, you've also been a member of our community. You've also been around on Facebook and YouTube and all the places for years and years and years. Is there anything that you feel like does help you achieve your goals? When you think about the community and support.
Yeah. One of the things that the community really did well was kind of rally around other people. Like there was, multiple times where people would post their wins, big or small, and it was like that good, like everybody's there cheering you on.
Yeah.
It was a very like, I mean, originally I was like one of the first people that was a part of the community, and so like it was really small and like everybody knew everybody, and so it's just kind of a matter of that support structure, that
Yeah.
support network that is kind of built into how that community works. And I feel like that's kind of been something that's transformed. It's everywhere. Like, they recognize you on social media, they recognize you in on Facebook, and like you build friendships and connections there. And so I think that's been a really good piece, is like that support network, and
Yeah.
like, this isn't working for me, what other things have other people tried, and things like that. Like I think that's really where the benefit comes
Yeah.
in that situation.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's true. And because for some, it sounds like you kind of built that also a little bit in your personal life or like work life, people in your real life is what I meant to say there. And, and that can be tough for other people, both from like a shyness, but also from like a practicality standpoint, sometimes depending on what you do for a living. And it can be hard for people to find that. And so it's an option, for those who need that from somewhere else. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it's always nice when people are in the same mindset as you, like when they have the same thought process, when they're also working on goals the same that you are. um, it's nice because it's not, your family's always going to pump you up.
right.
Your coworkers, if it's something super personal, you don't really want to connect necessarily on that level with them. But like, it's really nice when you're all goal oriented, goal mindset, personal, not personal, whatever. That's a nice part of it.
Yeah, that's very true. Awesome. Well, those are all my questions. Thank you again for
Thank
your
you.
time, very precious time. I think this was super helpful with a lot of reminders that even when you have a zillion and one things going on, like you can continue to make progress on goals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm so excited to chat today. Let's
Yeah.
start with just a quick intro. If you could tell us a little bit about your current life stage, what you do for work, anything that you would think would be helpful as we talk about your goals.
Okay, so my name's Katie. I am 47, married with no kids and a dog. So she's my baby. I work in a school setting at a middle school, and so I'm on basically a teacher's schedule. Yeah, so early morning, get done at 3:30, 4 o'clock, come home exhausted, tired. Because I work as a secretary, and so I talk to a lot of people. I do a lot of communication. And that I've noticed has been part of some of in my choices of how I deal with my goal setting because of my time, but also my physical, mental. Sometimes it's just tiring,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exhausting. Yeah, peopling is exhausting.
Yes, it is exhausting. And I am by nature an introvert,
Okay.
which is shocking that I have a job that I do because I talk to a lot of people and I do a lot of stuff. But I do find that, I have learned how to manage my time, not my time for the most part, but also just my energy in terms of how I do that, the kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Most of my goals are set up, and maybe you'll ask me this later, but most of mine are set up that I'm very continuous with some of my goals. In fact, some of them I've been doing for a while because I just need that reminder. So, for example, things with finance and reviewing, that's been on my goal sheet for 2.5, 3 years. Every week I need to do my finance review because I still haven't mastered that skill of making sure that I do those things. But I do find that I'm always learning about things or trying new stuff out, and that's also part of the reason why I do some of those things. So yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I appreciate you sharing anything you're willing to share with your goals. I'm here for it. I will ask questions. I'm going to start with a goal. It can either be a recent goal or an older goal, but a goal that you are proud of.
Okay. So actually last year I was really successful with when it came to your 100-day challenge. I don't know what was going on with me, but I was like really into that. And I managed to finish or actually I think I did complete I also sew and do a lot of crafting. And I have a niece who is 3 now, but at the time was 2, and I still had not finished her very cute little birth announcement that I made, a little like cross stitch piece. And for me, like finishing that with that 100-day challenge was great because I set it up for 30 minutes a day. I put it on my calendar, and I did that in the evenings when I still had, after I'd kind of decompressed from work, and after dinner and watching TV. And I was able to finish that. And I was very pleased with myself. She's going to get it for Christmas this year. I'm sure she'll be so thrilled. Anyway, maybe
her parents will be thrilled.
Her mama will be more happy than that. Yes. But I will say that for me was one of a really great accomplishment that I got, that I did that. It just solidified the fact that for me at least, that if I take the time to do it and I make my intention known about, like this is the time I'm going to have. I used the 100-day thing up on my fridge, and my husband was like, "What the heck is this?" And I'm like, "It's a thing. Don't worry about it. It's okay."
I'm tracking.
And,
don't worry.
Yeah, tracking. And I got out my fun little stickers that I had like a bajillion little like happy planner like hearts, and I put little hearts on every day. And
I love that. I love that.
And I was just like, to make me just something for fun, yeah. So I would say that was one of my more recent ones that I was proud of doing because I saw the end result. It wasn't, and it wasn't a long-term thing. It was something I had on my list. I wanted to do it. I was like, you know what? We're just going to take the time to get this done and make it happen. And that was really great. And I actually thought that I would do that again for this 100-day challenge. Yeah, it turns out I have done like 7 days because for some reason I've just started at night. I've just started reading more, which is not a goal, but it actually is kind of something that I'm finding is I had not been reading for many years, and I've just started picking up again. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with letting that happen, and just seeing where that goes. So you're just sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's
For
just,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
It's and yeah, so it's sometimes it's like your different stage or your different
Yes.
like life. Not that anything drastic changed in your life from last year to this year, but
Mhm.
the world's in a different place. Like there's lots of different things going on, and
Yeah.
you might need something different, like reading in the evenings
Mhm.
this year versus working on a project.
Yes, exactly.
All right,
Yeah.
you already kind of answered some of these, but you talked about intentionality, you talked about tracking. Is there anything else that you feel like you figured out that works for you related to your goals? It can be a habit, a mindset, a tool, anything.
I would find that for me, I do need to write stuff down. I mean, I think that really does help. I have a paper planner. I have, electronic, I do all those things. I actually also when I was setting up, I normally don't set work goals because we do that kind of, through work, kind of thing. But actually, I did want to be more mindful about my time and what I was doing here, because we have so many kids. We have almost 700 kids, and there are two secretaries, and so I spend a lot of time doing a lot of different things. And one of the things I did do last year was actually like review my job description and make sure that I kind of refresh myself, because it had been 4 years since I've had this job, and they don't necessarily, with secretaries, do a lot of, we do evaluations and things like that, but we weren't being, we didn't have, so we do evals twice a year, but we didn't have like, let's review your job description, let's make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, like all those things. I took it upon myself to really do that because I wanted to remind myself what it is that I do, because I had been taking on some other projects, and I really wanted to make sure that I was not taking away from the jobs I currently had and what was in my job description, but also that I could take the time for that. So I've set up task trackers for myself for that, that I do every week for my job. And so having things to check off like that has been very helpful. I do, for personal goals, I do use your planner, and I try to be on the calls if I can for stuff. But a lot of times I do set up my own things on my own time, whatever. And I just kind of want to make sure that I do set up the time. Part of that, what I've appreciated with your stuff now, is that you are reminding us and giving us the time to then put it in our planners, put it in our mindset, that kind of thing. That I find has been very helpful. I may not get to it on the day I decide to do it,
Okay.
or the time, but like I do say, okay, well, I should be doing that, and maybe I didn't. Yeah. But those are things that I probably have always done that in some way. But if I'm gonna set up, like, let's say, like a finance review, and that really takes 10 minutes. It's not like I'm, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every week. I'm just going over my checking account.
Right.
But but I do try to do that. Like if I'm rewatching your goal video, like most of the time I do like planner prep and finance review, and like setting myself up for the next week, because it's good 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes. Literally, those like 3 or 4 things take me that time. So those are definitely things that I found have been helpful for my own thing. And even though I don't have, I mean, I have a husband to deal with, and I have a dog to deal with, and not a lot else during my weekends. And so I do have a lot of free time, and I find that it's how I manage that, and the time of year. Like right now, I love watching Michigan football. I know, go blue. Not anyway.
But we're on the same team this year because we each played our own rivals.
We did.
Neither of us were successful with that, but we did play each other's rivals this year.
We did. So I do, like Saturday. So Saturdays, like where you're doing the gold thing, and that's like the easiest one for me to be at. Like last week, I think I texted you on Saturday and said, I'll watch the replay later because I'm currently watching Michigan try to beat Northwestern, which they did. So
that was here. That was in my city.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah. At Wrigley. So when football season is over, I know that I can go back to Saturdays because I don't have to deal with that. And not that that's, a huge time commitment.
No, but it's a seasonality thing.
It is.
I think it's showing that it's like, we all have our own priorities, and I completely relate to you that football is a priority for me, and it's every Saturday, but it's not the exact same time every Saturday, and then but it's also just for a couple months, and then you get those Saturdays back.
Yeah.
So
very true. Very true.
All right, let's flip it on its head. Are there any things you've discovered that don't work for you related to your goals? It could be something either you've tried and it hasn't worked, or you've seen like somebody else do it and you know that that's not for you.
Well, I have to say that for me personally, and maybe this is just where I'm at in my own life, but I cannot do an exercise or goal to save my life.
Okay.
I mean, I do not. I put it on there. I have changed the wording. I have tried to like make it a different mindset facet, and I just no, like I just am like to heck with that. I know that I should, because I have a very sedentary job, but I also know that I'm fairly healthy, and I maintain I do, if I'm talking about a health goal, a lot of the times it's keeping my appointments and making sure that I have good, health care, and that I'm keeping up on my stuff. And I do try to be better about like healthy options, things like that. But at the same time, like that workout goal, movement goal, like I said, I've tried a lot of ways to do that, and I just can't. I think part of it is that my time of day, like I don't do good in morning.
Sure.
And then by the time I come home, I'm wiped.
You're done. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, and even on the weekend, I spend a lot of time recharging myself. And I just don't want to do it. It's just not there. I also think sometimes, and I know that like in seeing that from like my parents, for example, my parents were they're almost 80. They're very motivated, but until they retired, they did not have good habits that way. And now they like kill it. And so, I mean, I know maybe that'll be something for me in my next stage of life. Yeah. My next stage of life or whatever it is. Maybe, I do try like in the summer to be a little bit more active because I'm off school and I can, take walks with the dog and do all those things. But yeah, like it just is not. I feel like at some point, maybe if I'm ready for it, I would probably have to invest financially, like to say like, and do it with somebody else. Like I feel like that's kind of where I would be at.
Yeah.
And that I would have to have a personal trainer or join a gym or do something that would keep me invested in it from a financial investment. And that's, your goal setting thing, which I am happy to pay $20 a month for, because that keeps me motivated in that sense, because I'm using your resource. I'm paying for that resource. And I think that's kind of where I would feel in that area if I were to do something, because that's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. My only other question, which you kind of already answered a little bit too, is as a member of the community, are there any specific things that you feel like help you achieve your goals?
Well, I think a little of I utilize what I can with it. And you offer way more. I shouldn't say way more, but you offer different things in different environments as you do that. Sometimes I do watch your YouTube videos with that. I'm not, totally watching all of them, and what you're doing, but like, and I do try to watch as many of the replays as I can. I would say that the planner is probably the most useful. And then for me, the goal prep. Yep. I've been doing that since, let's see, I probably did the first, whatever Cultivate did. The very like with Laura and like at the very like 2020 maybe.
Yeah, 2019 was in person.
Yeah.
And then of course,
that's right. And then so whatever was the not in person, so probably 2020 was the so I did invest in that, and then when you started doing yours, those were the ones I found were more helpful. And because Cultivate was great, but I think that they took it didn't go as I think it went too deep for me, like in some ways. Like not to say that you're not, you're, you make us think about stuff.
No, but I hear what you're saying. Some of their prep work is a little bit deeper than what I tend to do. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. And when I've noticed that still with some people I follow on YouTube about Cultivate, that's still kind of the idea. So I would say the goal prepping stuff, I've already set that on my calendar. I'm like, all right, if there's a Michigan game, I'm watching it later,
Well, they shouldn't. Unless
think
you're
we'll be
making
okay.
the playoffs, they
Yeah.
shouldn't. It doesn't conflict with college football.
I think we'll be okay. So thank you
Yeah.
for checking on that before you set anything up. Yes. So that's also why, I follow you just for that, Laken, of course.
When people are like, why is the first one on Sunday and the other two are on Saturday? I'm like, because the Saturday before that, there's still college football. So we have to do Sunday, but then we can do Saturdays later. There will be playoff games, potentially that second or that last one. But
Yes.
at this point, my team's not making it. So.
No. And mine is probably pretty low down on the list too. So, and I'm not watching Ohio State. That's for dang sure. So anyway,
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not talking about them. Anyway, I do the goal prep for sure. I think is great. And and even if I'm repeating, I have noticed for the last year or two, maybe 2 years, I have kept repeating some of the goals I had in terms of like financial, like I still want to make sure I know where my money's going, and I want to, with the goal. And so I might tweak the title, the timing or the goal, or like what it is, but like I'm still doing weekly finance reviews. My husband and I do a thing quarterly that we talk about stuff. I'm still trying to save money where I can, but maybe it's saving money for a different thing or saving, wherever. So, and I do use a little bit of Moxie Life in that area. Like, I'm not doing all 8 goals like Moxie Life does. That's too many. Usually I have about 4 or 5 annual, but I do keep them broad, which I was doing even before you suggested that, because I do feel like it just allows me to have a little bit more flexibility
For sure.
and freedom with things.
Yeah.
And to say, for example, my health goal this year was, I should have brought my planner to work with me. But anyway, one of my health goals was just to be more mindful of my body and what I was doing. And part of that was around that time that we were setting goals. I knew that from a physical health standpoint, as I was moving into perimenopause or menopause, that I had an issue. I didn't know though until January that I was going to have a surgery to deal with that. And so that was being mindful of my body and paying attention and making those appointments and talking to my doctors and, doing those things that were part of the goal, because then when I had that surgery, I was out for 6 weeks. So how was I going to manage my, myself mentally and physically and all those things. And so I did use a little bit of that for goal setting that way, because I wanted to make sure that I like to prepare. I'm a planner, and I like to make sure I'm comfortable with those things. And that really helped, I think, because I had that goal, that I could prepare myself for those. And so your product of having that availability to say, set this up, and then how do you want to kind of have it flow with a quarter and with a month and with the next month and all those things, that really helps me be able to, again, like you taught us already, breaking it down and having those items and I use the word intentional, but that actually has been my word of the year probably for the last 5 years.
Love it.
And I have it on it's not my wedding ring, but I have it on a ring that I wear.
That's so cool.
Which, and so, which I got when we were word of the year, was like a big fit, whatever. And I keep that as my ring to remind me that seems to be my word. So maybe that's my next tattoo. I don't know. We'll see.
No, I do. I love that. I love that. I mean, I love a tattoo to remind me.
Yeah.
So.
I have a couple in mind, but we'll see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
sharing. I think this was so helpful. So many insights on what works for you and what doesn't work. And that's all you can do is figure out what works. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I do appreciate that you give us that opportunity to talk about those things and, and to share with each other, because I mean, you have one perspective, but I have a different one, and how we can all help each other, I think is it's a good, not to say that it's a good girl gang, in that way.
Yeah, it is. But you're right. Everybody has different experiences. That's actually part of why I'm doing this series, is that I can share so much about what works for me, but hearing it from somebody else in what works for them is completely just a different perspective. So
yes, for sure. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Hello. I am so excited to chat today. Let's start with a little bit of background info. So your current stage of life, working situation, anything else you feel like would be helpful for us to know as we start to talk about your goals.
Current stage of life. I guess I work full time for a pharmaceutical company that most people probably know. but
you don't have to share that. It's more about just like you work outside of the home, right?
yeah.
Go to work.
Go to work, go into the office, have a really weird schedule because I support operations. So like yesterday, I worked night shift. I'm working night shift tonight.
What does that mean? Like, what time do you work?
So night shift runs from 6 to 6. So I left last night at like 3 a.m., but we're between, so like the way it works, we're like between batches. So I'm probably going to have to stay closer to the full time tonight, but like that's like once in a month, maybe.
Okay.
It's not very often. So there's that. And then also on top of that, I have contractors that I am managing.
Okay.
So like I keep up with their learning plans and making sure they have what they need to do their job. And so it's a lot.
I did not know that your new job had such like different hours, and that actually makes this even more valuable, I think, for anybody that does not work, like works outside of the home and doesn't work a classic 8 to 4, 9 to 5 setup.
Yeah, so sometimes it's 8 to 5. Most of the time it's like the 8 to 5, but occasionally because we're supporting operations and we are a relatively new site. I'm located in Raleigh, North Carolina, just for those that don't know. So RTP is huge for pharmaceutical and technology, and it's becoming like the Silicon Valley of the East Coast. So
I did not know that either.
Yeah, we have Google has done some stuff. Apple's supposed to be opening soon. I think they got delayed, but we have a lot going on in this area, and it's just different. We have a lot of pharmaceutical companies, so we're newer. The site was built during COVID in 2020, so that made everything very interesting.
Yeah.
But we started true commercial production and got approved by the FDA this year, so 2025. So we're coming to the end of like our first year of like real production and like a routine production schedule. So our teams are still kind of learning and getting to know the equipment and getting in like a real kind of cadence of production. So my role is like an operations support role. So just meaning like I can like my schedule shifts. So most of the time it's 8 to 5. Occasionally I'll work from home during the night if they're not, if they're just doing like normal production stuff. But if they're like in between batches or in between campaigns, I'll be on site supporting, making sure they have what they need. We have more like issues computer wise, and all of our stuff is electronic now, electronic batch records, electronic logging systems, everything's like all our SOPs and all that stuff is all electronic. So we have more like electronic issues now than you would normally. So kind of helping support that aspect of it.
Okay. How
making
far in
sure
advance do you know whether you're going to be at home or there or 8 to 5 or 6 to 6?
So we sign up. We have like a support schedule where there's like currently we have 2 lines, soon to be 3. And we sign up on the support schedule and we kind of pick and choose. So like we don't have like for whatever reason, there's no hockey games last night and tonight. So I can go be and support them. And then so I can like shift my schedule around to also accommodate my life, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So we
Which is
share,
nice.
yeah, we kind of share the responsibility. There's like 5 or 6 of us that like rotate through along with my boss. So we're all kind of chipping in to make sure that night shift gets what they need. Because a lot of times if someone works night shift, they understand that a lot of times you don't have the extra support because people aren't, the normal people that are there during the day aren't there at night. So just providing them some extra support.
Okay. So like you say, you sign up like a week in advance, a month in advance?
Here lately, it's been a couple of weeks in advance.
Okay.
So, and obviously if I sign up and something comes up,
sure.
Help my sister with the kids or something like that, I can always like shift it around and we can trade off, and
you can somewhat plan a little bit further out than like you're not finding out 1 week every time, like 1 week before.
Yeah. And then as far as like whether I can do it from home or I need to be on site, Sometimes we don't find out until about 24 hours before. So it just depends on how the batch is running and how things
Okay.
are going. So that could shift.
Okay. I would make the assumption you like plan to be there in person and then they're like, hey, you can actually stay at home.
Yeah.
And I know that you're a night owl. This is not really related, but I know that you're a night owl, so it's probably not as big of a deal. I could
Yeah.
not fathom the like needing to stay up that late. Like, is there anything special that you do when you know you have those kinds of days?
Sleep all day.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
I mean, as far as special, like I had planned Sunday night, so I went to bed like normal, woke up Monday, kind of did some stuff around the house, went back to bed.
Okay, like took a nap before.
So like took
long
like an
nap
extended
before.
nap.
Yeah.
Got there at 6, worked. I ended up working like a normal 8 hours last night, so that kind of helped. It wasn't as long.
Sure.
And I was fine on the way home. I, listened to an audiobook in the car, like, made sure that I had stuff to like keep my mind
Yeah.
busy. But like tonight, I don't know.
Right. Like that's
So-
what I mean. And the fact that we're here chatting and I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, you still have a lot of hours before you're gonna get to go.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's fine though, because I would be up anyway, like getting ready and like, getting ready to go into the office.
Yeah.
Even getting there at like 6, you kind of want to overlap a little bit with day shift just to kind of like get in, figure out what's going on and see what's happening. So there's that aspect of it. So,
Okay.
But yeah.
Wow. I feel like I could personally continue to ask questions about this because I find it very fascinating. You know, most of the people I've chatted with, it's like I have either been there, like I've done that kind of a working in the office 9 to 5, working at home 9 to 5, whatever. I've never done an overnight anything. I don't think I could physically stay up. So
I can't do it for a long period of time. I will say that.
Fair.
2 nights in a row is fine. Doing it for like a solid week would be very difficult. And I will say our shifts, because they're 6 to 6, they flip-flop back and forth weekends. So the shift that's on Monday, Tuesday will have Wednesday, Thursday off, and then work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the other shift will work the next weekend. So they have like shifted schedules so that they're not there Monday through Friday and like one set of people is always working the weekend. So it's nice because they have time off during the week to do what they need to do.
Right. That makes sense. All right, let's pivot to talk about goals now that we have like the foundation. So let's start with just something that you're proud of. It can be a goal that you've achieved recently or something that is a little bit older. It doesn't matter, but at least one goal that you've achieved that you're proud of.
I guess there's a couple. I was thinking about this earlier. I think there's a couple this year. I've read a ton of books this year.
Okay.
The most I've ever read. I'm up to like 55, which is like insane.
That is.
A lot of that's in the car. A lot of it's audiobooks.
Which totally counts.
Yep, totally counts. I also have physical books. So I also read physical. I typically have 2 or 3 going at a time. So like this is unusual. Like if you'd have asked me like 4 years ago, I would have been like, read, what is that? Don't have time for that. I guess the other thing is I also have a side business and I launched a course for sellers to sell on Amazon. So
Amazing.
On top of like the crazy work stuff and trying to keep up with the sticker sales, I launched a course.
I mean, why not? And all of your time.
So lots of things going on. And I guess the biggest one is I lost like 50 pounds this year. So
okay. So let's just like throw that one on top of it.
On top. I had some help, but it was needed because I've been trying to lose weight and have had a real struggle with it. So I've lost it this year. So I feel better.
It's amazing. Yeah. And I'm sure that probably also helps with staying up overnight, having like that physical energy to do it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I definitely don't feel as tired and my body doesn't like, I don't want to say wear out, but like I don't feel as worn out at the end of a longer day.
Yeah. I think I can absolutely see that there are phases of my life that I've had more energy. There is a correlation to that. So can be related to these goals, which it sounds like it probably will be, but it could be related to other goals too. But what have you found, especially with your schedule, having a business and a chaotic work schedule, what works for you when it comes to goals, habits, tools, mindsets, anything?
I think the biggest mindset thing that I've dealt with probably the past few years and really kind of started to get a handle on this year was just the negative self-talk.
Okay.
With launching the course and with my job of being able to like starting to like manage people and I have a completely different boss now, and I will say that has helped. He's quick to give praise, says
Okay.
thank you all the time.
I
No
love
matter,
that.
it's just normal job stuff. Like he'll say thank you.
Mhm.
And I'm not used to that. I'm also not used to receiving like good feedback.
Yep.
For whatever reason, like all my bosses have been terrible, for a lack of a better term. And he's just a lot easier to have as a boss.
That's awesome.
I mean, yeah, we have banter back and forth of like the normal work stuff of
Yeah.
like, well, that didn't go great, but it's more of like, well, that didn't go great, but what can we do to fix it?
Right. And if it's
Not just all negative.
right. And if it's combined with constant, not even constant, but regular, positive feedback and thank yous, then when you do have those moments that you need constructive, this is true for everybody. Like my dad calls it a Texas sandwich, like compliment sandwich, where you like you say something positive and then you give criticism and then you say another compliment.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have some compliments thrown in and it just not all be negative.
Right. Because then it
definitely throws me into more of a negative spiral if I have just negative stuff.
Understandable.
Yeah, and with launching the course, like, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm like making all the modules and I'm like, no one's gonna watch this, like no one's gonna care. Like, is anybody gonna buy it? And then I had like 5 or 6 people buy it. So it's like, okay, that's validating that someone does actually care. All the YouTube videos that I've made have actually done something for people. Like I get lots of good feedback on those. So it does give more ways to get rid of that like fear of failure and kind of like tell myself that yes, you do have good information and you are good at what you do, and quit telling yourself you're dumb or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the thought is that comes up.
Well, so much of goals in general is mental. It's not that we can't do it. It's that it's not always easy. And so we have to remind ourselves that we can do it. And it is helpful when other people are positive and you get that feedback as well. And then it's like a spiral, a positive spiral.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. All right. On the flip side, is there anything that you found that doesn't work for you? It could be something that you have tried and it didn't work, or you've seen somebody else do and you're like, that's not going to work for me.
I think the biggest thing that I have struggled with is the whole like ideal week.
Yeah.
Because my schedule is so weird.
Yeah. What is an ideal week for you?
Yeah. And like even days that I work a normal like 8 to 5 tends to be more like 8 to 6 or 8 to 7, just depending on what's going on. And with having hockey games that aren't consistent, like I'm a season ticket holder, for those that don't know, to the Carolina Hurricanes NHL team. So like we'll typically have games Tuesday and Thursdays, but some weeks, depending on what else is going on in the arena, it could be Monday, it could be Friday, it could be weekends. So not having a consistent schedule in the evenings to where I can say, okay, well, on Mondays, I'm going to work on this and Tuesdays, I'm going to work on this. The ideal schedule doesn't work. So what I'll typically do is like look at how busy I am with not work stuff, but like outside work. Do I have, things that I'm doing to hang out with friends, or are there events that I'm going to that are book events or whatever? And are there hockey games? Like how busy is my evenings, and say, okay, well, what can I feasibly get done? Is it an evening? Is it only one evening and I can go just do work on content and script a bunch of stuff? Or am I going to have time to film too? Right. So it just kind of getting like a weekly to-do list and kind of making that and not making that too long. I guess that's the other thing is sometimes I'll be like, no, but I have to get all this done. And it's like, okay, well, I don't have time to do all that. So something's
keeping things reasonable and not saying, making this huge list and then realizing I'm not gonna be able to do that whole thing.
Yeah. But I think the ideal week is never like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Every time I've tried it, it's like, no.
No, that was, And I think for some people, the structure is helpful and there's definitely people that benefit from it, but I think a lot of people's schedules vary, and obviously yours is a great example of that. I mean, there could be weeks probably you have like one home hockey game and weeks you have like 4.
Oh yeah.
Which is, yeah, very different. Okay, last question. The only other question I have is, as a community member, a longtime community member, what do you feel like within the community helps you achieve your goals?
Definitely the weekly lessons. I guess they're lessons now.
Yeah,
or like the weekly check-ins, whatever we're calling them.
Yeah, I know. I'm still not used to the name change either.
The weekly get-togethers, having some working time, even if it's only 30 minutes, just to get something done. Sometimes if I can't go to the monthly goal setting call, I can do the weekly call and do my goals during that.
Call inception. I love that.
Yeah. Just having time to like set aside and know that like I'm going to do this, and during this time I'm going to work on this, or I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
So that has definitely helped. I have the planner too. So
all the things.
All the things. Yeah.
I also just feel like in general, you've been around a while. Are there any other goal setting tips or things that you would want to share? Like any insight you have?
I guess going back to like how you set your goals, I have definitely drifted into the only setting 3 or 4 and making them large, like
more vague,
work on my business. Unless there's something really specific that I need to do, like I want to hit a certain number of sales, they're vague in general. And then my quarterly stuff, I kind of pare down and say, okay, well, what am I going to work on this quarter? Like what needs to get done? What do I want to what is my extra thing that I want to try to achieve this quarter? So I definitely set more vague goals, and I you don't like SMART goals.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think most people like SMART goals, except unless
we have to do them at work.
I was gonna say, unless you're a big company.
It makes sense for some things, but like when you're trying to do stuff that's family or relationship related, like SMART goals don't make sense. So
you just don't know. Like most personal goals cannot be both specific and time bound, in my opinion. You just can't, like, there is no way for you to, like, earn measurable also. I feel like those things are kind of the same, but like you just don't know, right? Like going out to read 55 books, like you can guess as much as you can, but there's so many factors that impact how many books you're going to be able to read in a year. And so setting something very specific, you're 99% of the time you're going to be wrong. And it's not bad, but it's just like, so I don't find the value, because I find when more of us are wrong, we give up easier. So
more of the negative, right?
Yeah,
so, like,
exactly. Right.
Yeah. And like with the book thing, like I tried to set it lower. Like I've read more books every year than I have the previous year, but even still this year, I was like, 35. Yeah, I'm 20 over.
Right.
I didn't change it. I just left it. But like, I'd rather like grossly go over than set it at 100 and only do 55 and then be like, oh, well, I didn't hit it.
Then I failed. And it's like, you still read 55 books. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of comparison. And like you said, with like a relationship or personal like growth kind of thing, how are you going to measure it within a time? Like you don't know how long it's going to take you. So I think that's a really good reminder for everybody. So, well, I very much appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I will leave, if you want more of Amy, she does also have a YouTube channel. So I'm going to leave that for you as well.
Awesome.
So good. So interesting to me how they manage their time. It's so impressive. And I did that. Like I worked outside of the home for the first 8 years. I've never done it while being a parent. So can only imagine that layer of complication that comes with that. But I commuted to and from the office for the first 8 years of my working life in New York. And it still amazed me, some of the things that they shared and the tips and things that work for them. I just think it's amazing. So thank you again to Sarah, Jessica, Katie, and Amy for your time. I hope that you found these helpful. If you made it all the way to the end, comment with a car emoji. I feel like the last one we did a house emoji and this one is a car emoji. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And as always, if you're new here, subscribe. We have 2 more categories coming, which again, I'm gonna say it again. I think even if you are not a stay-at-home parent or you're not retired or close to retirement, I still think these are really helpful videos. Thank you for watching. And what these ideas, blah, blah, blah. Some of the videos we referenced? No. Let me start that over. That was kind of a weird ending, but oh well.